I never would have thought while I was in the Navy that I would be in an abandoned house with no electricity smoking crack cocaine from a can. It was a fall of 2009, a raining and stormy day that I came home from the Navy looking for ways to cope with the sexual trauma I just endured in Guam. I went out partying with some family members, riding around, drinking, listening to music. You know how we do in the country. And we ended up at my cousin's boyfriend's house. So my cousin, my cousin's boyfriend, and my aunt were in the kitchen smoking something off of a can. And all I can remember is seeing the constant flickering of a lighter. I was already thinking that I wanted to stop being in the pain that I was in. So I had the audacity to ask, hey, what is that? My aunt replied, baby, this is crack cocaine. And the way she introduced me to it was if I was being introduced to a person. So I took the can, I put it up to my nose because I didn't know what I was doing. And my cousin's boyfriend corrected me and put it up to my mouth. And as I sucked on that can for the first hit ever, all my cares went away. I was finally numb. And no matter how hard I chased that high, I never got that feeling again. And I didn't know the dangers that was waiting on me while I did. That was the very first time I ever was introduced to drugs. Because before that, it was just alcohol. And believe me, I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in Castor, Louisiana, a very, very small town. We got a population of about 600 people. So growing up in Castor, man, listen, I had some of the worst self-esteem you could possibly imagine. I didn't like myself. I was always either too fat or too skinny or not good enough shoes, not good enough clothes. There was always something I did not like about myself because the people around me didn't like me, right? Because I went through so much bullying, so much being picked on, called ugly, called just so many different things that mess with my self-esteem. And I was raised by my mom as a single parent. She raised me, my brother, and my sister. I'm the baby of three. And so my sophomore year of high school, we ended up moving to the city. You end up moving to Shreveport, Louisiana. And I just knew that if nobody liked me in Castor, somebody got to like me in Shreveport, right? It's a bigger city, better, more people. There got to be an odd man out, right? There got to be somebody that likes me. So we got to Shreveport and I went through the same exact thing, bullying, being talked about, being called ugly, being said, you ain't even got the nicest shoes. You ain't even got shoes that look good. You ain't got clothes that look good. Where you ain't even got no booty, stuff like that. I mean, stuff like that, guys. Stuff that messed with my head because I was so young and I already didn't like myself, and that added to it in a negative way. My senior year of high school, my mother got extremely sick. At one point, they told us she had 2 weeks to live. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. So I was playing basketball and running track and stuff like that at that time. And so I stopped. I had to stop doing all that so that we could be back and forth to Houston, Texas, to St. Luke's Hospital. So I was going to St. Luke's Hospital every weekend. Sometimes my aunt and my sister would even check me out of school so that we can go up there during the weekdays. She was in that bad of a shape. But you know what God did? God healed my mother. God got my mother a heart. My mother got a heart, and she was my graduation present to my high school graduation. My whole thing was to go to ULM, University Louisiana Monroe. I was going there. I had a debate scholarship. So I was going to go major in psychology and minor in social work. My heart has always been with people, been advocating for people, learning why people do what they do, learning how to help people, learning how to build people up. I've always wanted to learn how to do that. I've always loved people, regardless if they love me or not, right? But I talked to this lying recruiter, right? If you know anything about recruiters, you know that they lie. They lie a lot. They'll tell you whatever it is they think you want to know so that you will you go into the military. And I believed him. He told me that I could, go to school and travel the world at the same time. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see the world, right? For free, of course. And I wanted to do school. My mind, my heart was set on school. And that's what I wanted to do. That's what I was going to do. So I listened to him. I went to basic training in Great Lakes, Chicago, Illinois, right? First time a country girl like me had ever been out of Louisiana. I mean, out of, the South, pretty much. Not only just to visit, but to live. I was going to live, y'all. Got to Chicago, y'all. I had to lose 50 pounds. If you remember what I told you, I stopped playing basketball, running track. I stopped working out. I stopped doing all those things that was keeping me in shape back in high school, so that I could be there for my mom. So I gained all kinds of weight because I had to get a job too to get all the stuff that you need as a singer. You know, you need a whole lot of stuff as a singer in high school, like graduation stuff, ring stuff, Letterman jacket stuff. I needed all of those things, right? And so I had to get a job because my mother wasn't able to do it. My brother and sister did what they could, but they were in college too. So they needed what they had. So I got a job at Long John Silver's. And yeah, I was eating that stuff every day. If you know anything about Long John Silver's, they deep fry all of their food. And it was good, but it was not good for me at all, right? So I had to lose 50 pounds, y'all. And I had 8 weeks to do it. But let me tell you what God did again. He allowed me to lose that 50 pounds. I lost that 50 pounds, y'all, and I graduated on time because I didn't want the embarrassment of not graduating on time and having to change my graduation date, right? Because I already told all my family members about what my graduation date was. And I sent my mama money to come to my graduation and stuff. And I was just super, super excited about it, right? So I brought my mom up for graduation. She loved it. I loved it. I came home after that for 2 weeks to go on leave. And I stayed. I think I wore my uniform every day that I was home on leave. I was so happy about my accomplishment. 2 weeks after that, I went to Guam. That's where I was stationed at. I got stationed in Guam. A country girl like me being stationed in Guam, a tropical island on the Pacific Ocean. God Almighty, that was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. The most beautiful water, the most beautiful everything, y'all. It was gorgeous. It was magical. And the ship was almost majestic. I was so in love from the first moment I saw it, y'all. Like, it was awesome. I started making friends. I started trying to, people please, trying to find out who the most popular people were and tried to hang out with them, stuff like that. But I made two friends that were my best friends. I made a lot of friends, a lot of associates, but there were only two people that I really, really trusted the most, right? And they were guys. So I went to this party one day, and the thing to do in the Navy was drink. Like, we drank when we got liberty, which is free time when we deployed to different places. I think all in all, I went to Thailand, to Singapore, Saipan, Russia, Australia, Hawaii. I was already stationed in Guam, and Subic Bay, Philippines. I think that's it. Hong Kong and Tokyo. Yep, I traveled all of those places, y'all, and they were so beautiful. It's sad to a certain extent because in Subic Bay, Philippines, there were kids carrying babies around begging for money and stuff like that. But we were briefed, of course, before we went there, because some of it was, a scam, and some of it wasn't. There was literally poverty. We were in third world countries, so there was a lot going on. So I went partying with the my so-called friends, right? And I got extremely drunk at this party, and I was raped. I was raped by a friend, someone who was supposed to be a friend to me. He raped me, and I didn't tell anybody immediately. I had to wait a few days before I told anybody. And after those few days, when I told my other friend, he got extremely mad. He went and confronted the guy in front of everybody in the barracks, and it got back to my chain of command. And I had to talk to NCIS every day for a few months. Every day, y'all. They had me wear a wire to go talk to this guy to try to get him to confess. They had me call him on the phone with the phone tapped to try to get him to confess, and he never confessed. As a matter of fact, he got away with it. After trial, we went to trial with this thing. After trial, he got away with it because they said it was alcohol involved. And of course, he was an officer. So after this rape happened and it got back to my chain of command and I'm talking to NCIS, I felt neglected. I felt betrayed because the Navy was supposed to help me and they didn't. These people that were supposed to be my friends betrayed me. They hurt me. They lied to me. They took advantage of me. They manipulated me. They took from me what I didn't want to freely give. I was a virgin at this time, and they took that from me. I wanted to give myself away biblically to my husband, and he took that option away from me. He took that choice away from me. And I tried to commit suicide. I took 127 pills that first time. And I thank God today that it didn't work. But back then I wanted to die. I was done with life. I was done with living. I wanted to die. After that first time trying to commit suicide, somebody found me in my barracks and I made it to the hospital. I stayed in the hospital a few days. They let me back out. My ship deployed that next time, but they wouldn't let me deploy. So I had to stay behind and I tried to do it again. I think I took 170 that second time. But God wouldn't let me die. Someone else found me again, y'all. This was not a setup. This was not planned. God orchestrated it. Somebody found me again. And so at that point, they medevaced me back to the States. The Navy was going to just discharge me. They was just going to give me a general honorable discharge. But it didn't. Because I kept having to go back and forth to the psychiatric unit on the Navy base. And so they gave me a medical discharge. At this point, I was living on Navy Medical Center Balboa in San Diego, California. And a Navy Medical Center, you have all branches of the military: Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Air Force. You have all of it. There, everybody's there getting a medical discharge or getting treated for some kind of medical ailment, right? So in the barracks that I were in, we had people who lost their arms, who lost their legs, who just came back from war, who just came back from all of these things. They were living with me. And I trauma bonded. I trauma bonded with the guy who I'm still best friends with today. And we went out partying all the time. We got so promiscuous. The friend of mine, he was gang raped. That's how we trauma bonded. He was gang raped by guys. We trauma bonded. We start going out to these sexual clubs to where you had to be naked or wear lingerie to get in, stuff like that. Man, ain't it crazy how when you are violated, it reverses, it flips. All of a sudden, you just want to just be out there, right? Like a switch flipped in your brain. It's like, they took it, I'm going to just go give it away, right? I finally got my medical discharge and came back to Louisiana. And that's when that very night happened. I was introduced to crack cocaine. After being introduced to crack cocaine, my life took a wild turn. I'm talking about a 10-year addiction to crack cocaine. In the year 2018, right? No, let me back up a little bit, because before that even happened, right? I had all these daddy issues, all these self-esteem issues, and I kept getting in a relationship with these older men. I'm talking about, I'm 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, and these men are 50 and over, because I had daddy issues because my daddy wasn't around. Because my daddy, every time I saw him, he was barefoot with a bottle of W.L. Weller, and he was barely around. I knew him, but I didn't know him. I knew of him. And so all of these daddy issues came out in my relationships, in my pride, in my choices. All of these issues came out in my choices. And until I faced those traumas, they came out in everything that I did. Everything that I did. Getting in all these relationships with older men, not loving myself, not seeing myself, allowing abuse. Some of these men tried to kill me, tried to choke me to death. I was this close to blacking out. And God touched this man's heart to allow him to get off of me so that I could live. Death didn't have authority that day. Death did not have authority that day. And so I got into relationships with all of these men. I started being so promiscuous, doing any and everything I could for drugs. This was a 10-year span. I'm in dangerous places, dangerous cities, in an abandoned house, getting high, drinking on the street, hitting a pipe in the middle of the street, stuff like that, going to jail, in and out of jail, in and out of psych wards. It was a life nobody should ever live. Homeless, helpless, hopeless. And I felt like I was worthless and I wasn't worth living. I'm here to tell you that you're worth living today. I tried to commit suicide 5 times in active addiction. And it wasn't one of those type to where you want to get attention, to where you just want people to know you're in pain. I wanted to die. And I'm here to tell you that I shall live and not die and declare the works of the Lord. Those 10 years of active addiction. Listen, just in 2020 alone, I was hit in the head 2 times in an attempt to take my life. My truck flipped 7 times while I'm in it, drunk. And I came out of it without a scratch. Somebody gave me bad drugs 3 times in an attempt to take my life. And I ended up on life support for 2 days behind this person trying to kill me, trying to take me out because I had money and they wanted my money and I wasn't crazy enough just yet to give it to them. Now listen to me when I say just yet, because at one point in my life, I felt like crazy was cool, like crazy was cute. Because society told me that, oh man, you got to be crazy, right? You got to be crazy is the coolest thing ever. And I felt like it was. And I felt like I was crazy because so many people had told me that I was. Strangers, people I was in a relationship with, they told me I was crazy and I believed it. And I consumed it. And it consumed me. Because when you let somebody tell you who you are, it will consume you if you believe it. You have to tell the world who you are. You can't let the world tell you who you are. 10 years of active addiction, of lying, cheating, manipulating, stealing, hurting, pain, feeling betrayed, feeling disowned, feeling let down, feeling lonely, feeling hurt, feeling disappointed, feeling like nobody understood, feeling like I don't even like getting high. I don't even like this high, but I can't stop having those feelings. I hated getting high. I hated being paranoid. I hated seeing my worst fear. Every time I got high on methamphetamines, I seen my worst fear. I seen snakes everywhere. Today, I am a certified peer support specialist working for the state of Louisiana. I work for the Louisiana Department of Behavioral Health. I'm a state leader for a national nonprofit organization that raises awareness to the 22 veterans that succumb to suicide every day. I'm a motivational speaker. I am a published author today. God can change your life around. He can take it, twist it, change the narrative, and make everything that you went through and turn it around in your favor. You just have to believe that you're worthy. You have to believe that you can do it. Because as I prayed and prayed and prayed, now let's get into solution right now. Because as I prayed and prayed and prayed to have a desire, because I didn't have a desire to stop. I liked it. I liked the lifestyle, the entertainment that came with it. I didn't like who I was when I was using, but it was so addictive. So I had to pray for a desire to have a desire to stop. And every time I prayed for it, I started liking it less and less and less until I just came up with the plan. I called my sister. I'm like, sis, man, I want to go get some help, but I need to plan to do it. And we need to pick a day, because if we don't pick a day, it's not going to happen. How many of you know that if you don't put something on your planner, if you don't write something down, you're not going to do it? If it's not planned, you're not going to do it. Right. And so I made a plan. I said, listen, I'm going to go detox. Then I'm going to go to rehab here in Opelousas, Louisiana at Heroes Program. Then after the rehab, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start writing my book. I'm going to take things slow, right? I'm going to start paying off some of my debt. I'm going to start trying to get my credit right. I'm going to start doing those things, right? I'm going to start working on my physical health. There's 3 things that you have to work on in order to sustain sobriety. That is the physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. What I did for me mentally, let me tell you, I started doing EMDR therapy. Right? EMDR therapy was the most magical, uplifting thing that has ever helped me in my life. And I've tried different things because I've been to about 10 rehabs over my course of active addiction. That was the only thing that helped for my physical health. I do boxing, I do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. It helped me, right? It helped me because when you work on your physical health, your mental health subsequently works too. For my spiritual health, I get in my word, I get in the word of God. That's what I do. I get in the word, I pray, I have a relationship to God, to the God that I serve. I have a relationship with him. Your physical, your mental, and your spiritual are the three pillars to you succeeding. Because if you don't have a foundation, you need a foundation to move forward. You need to face your traumas, face those things that hurt you, face those people that hurt you. Make amends wherever possible. Face them, accept that they happened, and also accept the fact that you survived. And feel all those feelings because it's going to hurt. It's not going to feel good at first, but I promise you, time does heal. I'm here to tell you that you're worthy and that God saved me, and I know he can save you too. I'm also here to tell you that I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. I love you, God loves you, and one day you're going to love yourself.